Straight all day.
Tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day, to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself. It's going to make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques, all underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called work on your game. My name is Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is why you do not want to be a lone wolf in what you do in your business and what you do in your life, what you do anywhere else. I'll get into explaining that, of course, momentarily. But before I do that, let me remind everyone, send out a daily motivation text message free of charge every morning, straight to your phone. If you want to receive this message guaranteed to keep you focused, sharp, and on point, text me at my number, 305-384-6894. And every morning when I send a daily motivation message out, because you are in my text community, you shall receive. Secondly, workonyourgameuniversity.com. That is where you take the next step to get your game to its next level, and you will have me helping you do it. Whether you like to get access to all my courses and do it at your own pace, or you want to get into my coaching program and have me actually guide you and help you and work with you through the process of you taking your game to its next level, whatever it may be, go to workonyourgameuniversity.com and let's get into it. That is where that happens. Again, workonyourgameuniversity.com. Now, getting into today's topic, which is why you do not want to be a lone wolf in any aspect of your life. Many people, and I talk to a lot of people, see themselves and pride themselves in being lone wolves. Basically, the lone wolf, how I would describe it, as a person who is not super connected into a whole lot of social groups. Maybe you don't have as many close friends or professional colleagues as maybe you think you could, and you're fine with it because you believe that you are strong enough on your own accord to still create a reasonable amount of success despite your isolation. You can see the episode that I did on being a general versus being a politician, where I described this. It was episode 2476, just about a month ago, where I talked about that. Where you're strong enough to be that general, well, you're like, well, look, I don't even need to have a whole bunch of relationships because I'm strong enough by myself. I will argue today why you should not continue in this pursuit or start it or think about it, even if it is true that you're good enough to do everything on your own. You're good enough to be great and do great stuff by yourself. I'm going to argue why, even if you are a lone wolf right now and you're doing well by yourself, you should not think that you should stay in that space. Don't stay in the space of being a lone wolf. You should go get connected and get other people around you and continue to be good at what you're doing. And I'm going to make the case for why that is here today. Point number one, the topic once again is why you don't want to be a lone wolf in life. Point number one, isolation is more dangerous than connection. This is one of the 48 Laws of Power from my favorite book of the same title by Mr. Robert Greene. When you are isolated and alone, you get cut off from valuable information that you would otherwise glean from other people. And here's the thing, if you really think about it, if you think deeply about this, you might not even have to think that deeply. That a lot of times you get insights and ideas and you just get tapped into things that you otherwise would not have known just because you knew the right person. You knew somebody who knew something. You knew somebody who knew somebody. You knew somebody who was plugged into a certain situation. Therefore, you got access to some information that you never would have got access to had you not been talking to that person, or had that person not known you, or had you not been in that room or seated at that table or in that circle. A lot of information that we get, and sometimes not always accurate information, but sometimes we at least get pointed in the right direction just because we're connected to another person who knows something, or they've seen something, or they have observed something, or they think something. But that only happens when we're communicating with other people. So when you're a lone wolf and you're isolated and you're by yourself, you are limited to just what you can figure out on your own and what information you can get from, I guess, what is already out there, what's printed, what's shared, what's documented, what's already been accepted by whoever. Now, there's a ton of information in those spaces. The challenge is, and this is something that I talked about when it comes to the open book test of life, and let me give you the episode where I talk about that. That was episode number 1518, how to pass life's open book test. Is which book do you open and which page do you turn to in that book? Books usually have a lot of pages. So if a book has 60 pages or 600 pages, how do you know which page to turn to so you can pass the open book test? And you ever been to a library before? How many books are there in that library? How do you know which book to even open? That's a lot of work. It could take you a long time just to figure out which book to open, let alone which page to turn to. And then how do you verify that you got the right information? So just because something's an open book test doesn't guarantee you're going to get it all right. So when you're a lone wolf, yes, it's an open book test, but you still have some challenges as to where to begin, where to look, and how you know it's right. When you are connected to other people, you're interconnected, you are plugged in, and you have a group, you have a social network. When you have that, now you get access to things again that you can only get through other people. You can't get this just through being smart, or just through working hard, or just through being a good person, or just by being like I said, a hard worker, or even being really good at what you do. None of those is enough to replace what you miss when you are not connected to other human beings. All right, that's why isolation is so dangerous. Also, when you're isolated, other people can work against you. Other people can plot against you. There can be whole schemes planned to go against you, and you're not even aware that they're planning to go against you simply because you don't know what's going on. Nobody plugged you into the information. Human beings, that's people like you and I. We love to talk, we love to share, and we love to exchange energy. So when you hang around any other human being for long enough, and you're good at asking questions and a good listener, you can learn a whole lot that you otherwise never would have learned had you not been in that interaction with that person. A lot of information that we get in life does not come from a book or from a website. It comes from a direct conversation that we have with another human being. This is why being connected to other people is a very valuable asset, and there is no downside, zero downside to having more positive relationships with more positive people. Now, there is a downside to having relationships with negative people and people who have nothing going on and people who are going nowhere. But positive people who are going somewhere and doing something, there is no downside to having more of those in your life. The more of those you have, the better. If you're around nobody, the exchanges that happen between humans are still occurring. It's just that you're not included in them. And the end result is, we'll get on point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is why you do not want to be a lone wolf in life. Number 2, lone wolves have to work much harder for their meals than the well-connected individuals do. For example, the pack wolves. So let's take a lone wolf analogy and let's make it literal. Let's take a wolf. All right, a wolf out in the wilderness, living out on its own. This is a very strong wolf. This wolf is that general, as opposed to the politician that we talked about in episode number 2476. So this wolf is really good, really strong. The best hunter in the forest, can just go and kill and eat whatever it wants. Whenever the wolf wants to eat, just goes find something, kills it, and he goes and eats. Okay, let's say you're that lone wolf. Okay, and you got to go out and you got to do the killing for every single thing that you eat. Now, again, you're good enough to do it, so you're doing it. You're successful. You're living. You're thriving. But let's take another wolf who is equally strong, equally good at killing, but this wolf has a pack. So it's not just that wolf by itself. That wolf has 8 or 9 other wolves with it hanging around. And sometimes that wolf, if it wants to eat, it doesn't have to go and kill something on its own. It can just let the other wolves in the pack go out and do the killing, and they still get to eat off of it. They get to get a little commission, so to speak, off of the killing that the rest of the pack did. So that wolf doesn't have to go out and do the work every time it wants to eat. So it's not a 1-to-1 ratio. See, the lone wolf is a 1-to-1 ratio between what you can kill and what you can eat. Whereas the pack wolf, who has a team and has people around him and is connected, not people, but other wolves around it, it doesn't have to kill every time it eats. It can eat sometimes without having to do any killing. It could go a whole week, a whole month without having to kill anything, simply because it has a pack around it that does the work that they don't have to do. This is the person who, again, you think of if we go to a human analogy, let's say someone owns you have a piece of a business, or you have some sort of residual coming in from some business that you've done. You don't have to go out and do the work every time you make a dollar. Somebody else can do the work, but you still get paid off of it, and you don't have to do anything. You could be on vacation. You could be asleep. But the money is still coming in because you have others connected with you. You have others working for you. So I'm just using that as an analogy, but I want you to understand. Any of you has any experience in network marketing, for example, or the insurance industry or real estate, you're probably told that this is one of the basis points for why you need to build a team. Because if it's just you by yourself, well, you got to go out and make every single sale for every single dollar that you make. But once you start to build a team, or you can build a mechanism to where you're getting a residual from the work that you've done. Then even when you're not working, you can still make money. So there is a way that you can survive selling everything on your own. You could even do great. You can thrive doing everything by yourself. But what if you had a bunch of other people also working on your behalf, and you got a piece of everything that they did in addition to you getting a piece of everything that you do? Lone wolves don't have anyone to get a residual off of because it's just you. So your success is limited to your ability to execute and perform. And again, if you're great at executing and performing, then you can do good by yourself. But when you have a lot more, once you do a lot better, if you could benefit from the outcomes that did not require your effort in addition to your own, I mean, it's just simple mathematics. Why would you not include the work of other people in addition to the work that you're doing yourself? Again, why be a lone wolf when you could be just as good with the team around you? So now they get you connected to information. You get access to a piece of what they do. And if anything ever happens to you, or you come up short one day, you fail to make a kill, you can still eat because the people in your pack, they went out and did something. You didn't make any sales this week, but the people on your team made some sales, so you still made money. Now, you see how that works? That's why you want to build a team. And any of you who's been in any kind of business that is conducive to team building, you probably heard people talk about this. Actually, every business is conducive to team building. So if you ever hear entrepreneurs, like I'm connected in some groups where there are a lot of entrepreneurs who talk about building teams and building business systems and scaling up businesses. And one of the biggest things, if you're going to scale up any business, is eventually you got to build a team. There's a certain level you can get to in business by yourself. And there's a certain level that if you want to get past it, you have to have a team with you. You got to have some other people, some more empowered leaders working with you besides it just being all on you, because there's only so much any one human can do. We all have our capacity. We all have our limits. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is why you do not want to be a lone wolf. Creating a pack, i.e. building a team, building relationships, networking, getting to know people, making yourself known, all of these things is all part about creating that pack. These are not easy. Team building can be it can be a long, arduous process. It can be a very tedious process. The hiring process can be very tedious. It can get annoying. It can be super frustrating. You can get to the point that you're so frustrated with failed hires that you're like, I'm just not gonna hire anybody. I'm gonna just do it all by myself. Any of you entrepreneurs listening to this, I'm sure some of you have had that conversation. Some of you have even come to that conclusion that you're just not gonna go through the hassle of trying to build a team because it's been too much bullshit to do it. Building relationships, getting to know people, finding the right people who you want to get to know, networking, following up with people, making connections, scheduling phone calls, getting to know somebody, making yourself known. If you're not that known right now, all these things take a certain amount of effort. Therefore, they're not always easy. You will have to cycle through a good number of people who are not good fits in order for you to find the people who are good fits. But in the end, the effort is more than worth it because the return on investment that you get from having a network is a multiple of the investment that you had to put in. The return is a multiple of the investment, which is how any good investment should go. You should always be taking out more than you put in. Many people don't build teams, don't network, don't create relationships, not because they can't, but simply because it takes work to network, build teams, and build relationships. It takes work, and there's no immediate payoff for doing it. So if you go build a team right now, let's say you built a team starting today, there's no immediate payoff for you building a team. The payoff doesn't come till later on down the line. And this is another reason why a lot of people don't do a lot of things in life, simply because there's no immediate gratification that comes from doing it. It costs you more in the moment to network and build a team and build relationships than it will cost you to do nothing and just keep working by yourself. This is why you have so many lone wolves out there. Some of them good, skilled hunters, some of them not so good. But you have a lot of lone wolves out there simply because it takes a lot of effort to actually build a network, and many people don't want to put the time in that is required to do it. So they say, well, why don't I just do everything by myself? And that's exactly what they do. And they're not wrong for doing everything by themselves, but they have the problems that I've laid out here in today's masterclass. When you're doing everything by yourself, there's only so much any one individual can do. No matter how hard working, no matter how good, no matter how talented, no matter how dedicated and motivated you are, there are limits to your ability to do anything. But if you have two of you, now the limit goes up. If there are 10 of you, the limit goes up. The ceiling gets raised every time you add more capable people to your network or organization. If you haven't read the book called Good to Great by Jim Collins, he talks about this. It says one of the most important things any company does that becomes a great company, and he had a measure for what it actually meant to be a great company, is that they get the right people on the team first. That's the biggest thing they do. They get the right, highest quality individuals in the organization, and they get the wrong people out of the organization. Then they figure out exactly how they're going to work together, what they're going to work on, what they're going to do. They don't figure out what to do first, then find people. They figure out who are the best people, then they say, all right, what are we going to do? In that order. So if you haven't read the book Good to Great by Jim Collins, go buy it. Any book you hear me mention, go get it. So this short-sightedness of wanting to do everything by yourself and being a lone wolf is the exact reason why many people become and remain lone wolves all their lives, because they just don't want to do the work that's going to produce a long-term ROI. You are only thinking about the immediate gratification, but building a team produces long-term gratification that you have to have a vision to see from the beginning of the race. You got to see, all right, this is going to take me some investment right now and maybe for the rest of this year, but I'm going to do it anyway, because in the long run, this is actually going to be worth it. Anyone who started out by themselves and now has a team can attest to what I'm saying. Anybody here in that situation, you started out doing everything on your own, but now you got some people, and the team could be just one other person. All right, it's just more than just you right now. It started out just you, but now it's more than just you. Anyone who is a parent, who has children, you can attest to what I'm saying, where it's a big investment at the beginning because the kid can't do a damn thing for themselves. You're doing everything for them, so you're actually doing more work at the beginning of having a child than you're going to be doing than you were doing when it was just you by yourself. At some point, you're like, look, it would have been less work if it was just me. But now you're doing double the work because you got to do stuff for yourself and for the child who can't do a damn thing. But in the long run, it becomes worth it. Anyone who started out with a smaller team and now you have a bigger team that's thriving, you can attest to what I'm saying. And any of you who is wondering, go talk to somebody who has a bigger team. Whatever you consider bigger, ask them. They'll tell you. It was a pain in the ass putting it together, but now that I have it, it's 100% worth it. That's what they're going to conclude, guaranteed. All that said, let's recap today's class, which is why you don't want to be a lone wolf in life. Many people see themselves as this lone wolf thing, especially people who are doing well, doing everything on their own. But I'm going to suggest that you not remain this and that you do not aim to become this if you're not that yet. Point number one. Isolation is more dangerous than connection. First of all, you get cut off from information. That's the biggest thing you want access to. And a lot of the information that we have in life is simply the things that we get from other human beings, not from the internet, not from a book, but from being connected to other people. They tell us stuff, they show us stuff, they know things, and they can see things that we otherwise would not have been privy to. That's why you want to be connected to other human beings. This is why they say your network is your net worth, is because that connection, those people that you know, they can know things and do things and get things done for you that you could not do on your own and that you cannot get from reading a book. Number two, lone wolves have too much. Lone wolves have to work harder for their meals than well-connected people do. A lone wolf has to kill everything they eat. It's a 1-to-1 ratio between killing and eating, whereas a wolf that has a pack, they don't always have to kill anything and they can still eat. Why? Because the other people on the team can do work that you didn't necessarily have to do. This is what residuals are when you build a business. Any of you in network marketing, insurance, real estate, you build a team and the people on your team can do work. You can take the day off and you can still make money because you have other people working on your behalf, so everything is not based on you anymore. Number three, creating a pack, like building a team, relationships, networking, getting to know people, making yourself known. This is not an easy thing to do. It takes time, it takes effort. You have to cycle through people who are not good fits, but in the end, the effort is more than worth it because now you have a team around you who can do things for you that you otherwise either could not or don't want to do for yourselves. All right, so building a team produces that long-term gratification, but you have to have the vision to see it from the beginning of the race, because at the beginning, it's not going to be any gratification. It's going to be actually a pain in the ass to do the work, to find the people, to train the people, to work with the people, to get the right people on the bus, get the wrong people off the bus. All of this is a big investment that you have to make up front for the payoff that comes in the end. Same thing as like a parent who is having a child. At the beginning, it's a pain in the ass because you got to do double the work. You got to do a whole bunch of work for a human who can't do a damn thing for themselves, but in the long run, the vision is that it's going to be worth it. All that said, text me, tell me the best insight you got from today's class. My number is 305-384-6894 and workonyourgameuniversity.com. If you want to learn how to, first of all, make yourself a very strong wolf, a leader of a pack, so that you can get people around you who want to follow you and want to be on your team, go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre all day.